All right, guys, I think let's start because it's 2 o'clock U time in the UAE. So, welcome everybody. This is our first session. So, what I will go through very quickly is how to set the scene when you go in to do your exam, right? As well as I'm focusing particularly on how to write your your answers. Okay, so just give me a second, and there are some very important points that I want to emphasize at the beginning of the session, but I will continue with these things. It'll take me about 5 to 10 minutes to go through this, right? And I will have this in a PDF format on our Moodle site as well so that you can access it. And this is really important. So when it comes to the exam, and your answer, the key thing is structure, right? I cannot emphasize enough about the structure and the planning. So first, let's start with the planning of it and say, well, the reason for this planning is you got a massive case study now, and the questions that the unseen will come through. You need to plan very well. So immediately you need to say, okay, what are the requirements that the examiner is asking from me? Okay, they're also expecting you to give a very clear structure. Okay, and also the third point is focus on the answer. The fourth point I would want to emphasize is theory, because this is an integrated case study where you need to incorporate theory into it, but the application of the theory becomes quite important. So when we go through the case study, we will look at what are some of the models that we can use in your case study as well. And of course, the time management, and be specific and write to the question that is asked. Again, that seems quite obvious, but I have seen many students with my experience where they've written an answer, but actually not to the question that the examiner has asked. It's something else. And this happens quite frequently. So be careful. Read it carefully. Find out what the examiner is asking, and then answer to that question, right? And when we have to look at the structure and of your answer, that is part of your planning. So make sure that you plan very well. 1/3 of your time should be spent on planning. Don't think this is a useless exercise, and don't think, oh well, I will just put only 1 or 2 minutes into the planning. No, that's not the case. If it is 30 minutes, if it's a 60 minutes question, right, you're gonna get 30 marks, right? And for that, you need to put 1/3 into planning. So I'm emphasizing it over and over again because some of my students who were in the August case study, I emphasized this to them quite a bit, and they were quite grateful and wrote back to me saying, this is what they did, and that we think is a success because it is of the planning. All right. Now let us jump into the case study. Give me a second where I will be sharing my screen with you. So what I will do is have an interactive session with you guys. So because of that, you can unmute your mics, and then to make sure that we're all in the same page and we understand, because going through the case study as well, people do get confused. They have different perceptions of certain words. So we can clarify all these things when we have mics unmute. Okay. So I'm going to share my screen now. All right. Now let's look at, it's a 20-odd page case study. It's not bad. Let's very quickly look at let's look at the first one, right? The company background. So there are some key things that's coming out of this page, right? And the other thing that you need to consider is try to make notes as we go along. Do that as an active activity right away, because this will help you to again refer to your notes, and then because this is kind of our exam is from the 2020s, right? So therefore you can have this session as one of the last sessions that you're going through the case study. So Wood is a forestry company that invests in forestry projects, right? And it's formed in 1983 by two wealthy individuals, but they moved on. One of the key things that I see is that it is a quoted company. So, and anybody from the class, why is it so important when it's a quoted company? What are the couple of things that come into your mind?
The first thing is that it has to adhere to the listing norms. I mean, the moment you get listed on the stock exchange, then they have certain bylaws or regulations with respect to governance, with respect to disclosure, with respect to transparency, and with respect to information sharing with the larger world.
Right. So what you're saying is now the company has to be conform to ethics, governance, right?
Yes, yes.
And sharing of the information, right?
Yes.
Those are some of the, write it down because it's quite important, because when we come into mock exams, we'll come back to this topic. We say, now these are some of the key things that we see as an important, some of the advantages that you can think of being a listed company.
Access to finance.
Exactly. So access to finance is there. So that means, well, the examiner is going to give you something related to new projects, because they're talking about new projects. So that means in the F3 area, you have to look at, they won't ask you to do calculations, but then you're looking at, weighted average cost of capital and different funding mechanisms that's available, right? And also you can look at the risks. Okay, so there's some of the areas that will come in this. As soon as we look at the first page, these are the key things that come to mind, right? The third paragraph, we see another glaring one there is currency is in M dollars, right? Now M dollars means, well, this is a forex issues coming here, okay? They've got a lot of products, they've got certain transactions happening, they talk about pulp and stuff like that. So what we can see here is a forex question as well coming through. So again, look at some of the forex areas that may come through. For example, hedging. Again, you need to understand the theories behind it. No calculations, but you should be able to advise. Okay. Now, what I missed here is this part, the first one. Okay, the first line, where it says you are a senior finance manager employed by Wood. Right? So you're a very senior finance manager. So you need to assume the role of that senior finance manager and report to the board. So when you're writing any reports, writing any emails, if it's any presentations, please bear in mind you're a very senior person in the organization, and then you are responding or advising, providing options to the senior management of the company. That's the directors and the board of directors, okay? Because this is again an area where people don't assume that role, and they hence respond in a different manner. Again, the examiner looks at this and says, looks at the answer and says, well, has the person assumed the role of a senior finance manager, and is the person writing in that context? Any questions so far?
What is the importance of uninhabited areas? Like, is there any opportunity for that one?
Of course, yes. That's so. When you look at the products, services that they can offer, so this is a very good opportunity for them. The things that they can do, right?
Yes.
So in this page, another thing that you guys can do a quick SWOT, right? So that's one thing. So what I'm going to ask you guys to do is actively do those exercises, but also upload it to Moodle, right, in your learning management system. I will send another email providing you guidance how to do it. It's just a matter of uploading the information, or either see what is the easiest way possible. Because by doing it, what happens is when you go to the exam, you don't have to think about it. It's already there. You know what it is, right? Let's go to the second one. Now, extracts from integrated report from the year-end 30th September. So, does everybody know what integrated reporting is? Or if there is somebody there who knows what an integrated report is, if you can explain to us. Now, the examiner is asking this for a very good reason, right? So, integrated reporting is something new that has come up, right? So, I will, if you guys can see my screen, so that's why I want to show you this. Now, this is what it is, right? What is integrated reporting? It talks not only about the finance aspects, but also beyond finance, right? The governance, the environment, sustainability, and also the future of the company. So it gives a story to your stakeholders, right? As you can see, it talks about creating value, tell a story to your stakeholders. That's becoming more and more important, right? So I'm going to give you 1 second. Let me. So I'm going to save this document into our Moodle site, where you can download if required, or just access it from there and read it. You don't have to memorize it, but then you need to get the concept of it. This is what they do, because what it's talking about is tomorrow's business success using integrated reporting to help create value and effectively tell the full story of the company, right? Because as you can see, Wood Company is in the environmental business, right, in forestry. But it's not just about planting trees, taking off trees, selling them. That is the kind of a very, very traditional thing, but this is going far beyond it. Okay. Any questions?
Yes, sure.
Yeah. So they're talking about IFRS as well. So they're expecting you to know a little bit on this, because we think that there might be some questions on this, right? again, I'm not saying that you will have to, hold on for a second. One of the students is calling. I'm not sure whether he can access. Hi guys, sorry. I hope he'll be able to join us. So, the second paragraph in this, it says about the transparency and the disclosure. And again, it's emphasizing over the coming years, Board will continue to review its reporting approach and routines to ensure it meets best practices, reporting standards, the expectation of stakeholders, and maintain visibility of how the group creates sustainability value. Now, in this case, if you're looking at this report, you need to look at how is this report generated, right? So I would look at technology as well. Technology is one of the key things, a key enabler for you as a very senior executive of the company. And you should be able to get information not only from your financials, but your non-financial factors. Okay? Let's go to the next page.
Excuse me.
Yes?
Second page, this is something related to corporate governance.
Sorry, you're not clear?
Now, in the second page, it is something related to corporate governance. The
Second page, it's not only the corporate, I wouldn't say it's just corporate governance.
Yeah.
It's a bit different from corporate governance because it's looking at, me as a stakeholder, I need to find out a lot more about the company, not just you as a CEO providing me the financial aspects, right? And not just giving me a report on these are the notes to the accounts. If we look at our traditional financial statements, that just included the financial statements and notes to the accounts, and of course a report from the CEO, right?
Yeah.
That's your traditional financial statements, yeah? But here we are going beyond that because I want to see much more as a shareholder, particularly I want to see much more, right? And that's where the reporting and what is the technology underlying your reporting plays a significant role. Okay, I will touch on even some things like big data. Okay, I need information from internal as well as external. Again, not only financial but others as well. Okay, is that clear?
Yeah, clear.
Right. Okay. Now I'm looking at the strategic report. Right. And the forestry management, taxation and grants, harvesting. So these are the things that they are talking about. Now, another tip is the amount of space given to this report, given to this topic, right? Because look at this, extracts from the integrated report are below. They're talking about the extracts in one page, and the second page is all about those extracts, right? And this means the examiner is going to be quite interested in what you have to say about an integrated report. Now, if I was you, what I would do is also look at some of the real life examples of other companies, right? I have a slide for that. I'll give you two names of the companies, and these are Scandinavian companies, and it's good to get a view of what these guys are doing, because a lot of the time the Scandinavian countries, they're very high on when it comes to their reporting. They're very, very good in that sense, right? Just hold on for a second. I've got another message from the student. Right. So some of the key things. Let's look at a strategic report. Anything key that somebody can tell me that what are the key things that you can tell me what they're talking about in this first paragraph?
Giving the overall direction of the business. I mean, what are the they have in this paragraph?
Correct. Yeah. So some of the key activities that they're doing, right?
Yes.
See, harvesting timber, project work. Project work means you're going into doing project management, okay? And you're going into doing project work for others as well, okay? So helping to create amenity woodlands. Do you know what amenity woodlands is?
They are parks which are open to the public. I mean, they have
Right.
spaces for doing picnics and camps. So, I mean, to be able to gather for the public at large.
Exactly. So that's where their focus is on, right? These are the key things that they're looking at, they're working on, and their products are these. You could call them products or services. This is what they do. But this means there are some other areas that they can explore as well, right? Now, when I look at a key matrix, I'm going into the technical side of it. What would be if I'm looking at the products, right? Product side of it. What is one of the key models that I can use to analyze?
I mean, they are following a differentiated approach. I mean, they have separate product lines, such as forestry management, harvesting timber, and project work. So
yes. And what about if I want to go into, let's say, if I want to analyze, right? Are we going to look at a technical model like Ansop's matrix? What do you guys think? Is that something that you will be using?
That's the interest of the different stakeholders.
I mean, that does not talk about. I mean, we can use Mandelow's matrix, which talks about the stakeholders and the rest. But
that's a Mandelow's matrix.
Yeah, that's Mendelow's. Sorry.
So you also need to look at the environmental analysis as well as some of the new products that they can get into, okay? Because they already have the base, which is the forest. They already have the forest. So with that, they can do much more than what they're doing currently. So you can look at some of the opportunities, okay? Now, they look at forestry management, right? Forestry management, they are doing the management not only for their own forest, but also for their clients, okay? That's what they're doing. So this means you need to, and these clients are not, they're not going to have clients, huge amounts of clients, not huge volumes, right? They're going to have clients who are quite a few clients. So this means these guys they need to be managed very well, right? These are high interest and very powerful clients, okay? Because if you go to the next point, they're talking about taxation and grants. So the clients themselves will get taxation relief from the government for investing. So this is another very good point for them. What about harvesting? Any key things that you guys can point out to us?
I mean, this is where the sustainability comes in. So, ethical harvesting.
Biodiversity too.
Right.
They care about the environment also.
They care about the
Environment also.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. What else can you see here?
Carbon footprint.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And one of the things that we can see is harvesting. How is the harvesting done currently? Right? It's a question that you have to look at, because harvesting is when you look at your case study a little bit more go more into the other pages, you would see they say it's not a very it's not an easy job. It has its inherent dangers. So you need to be quite careful, and this is where health, safety, environment plays a major role. Now, I did not see a specific report on HSC here, right? Again, we can look at the other companies, the real life companies, on what are the HSC practices of these companies when it comes to harvesting, right? Because let's look at another industry like oil and gas, or mining, for example. In mining, previously and even now, a lot of the time they use very heavy equipment, and there has been quite a few fatalities. Now, Australia, what they did was some of the companies in Australia, they adopted a technique. So technology became the enabler, where they had driverless equipment, right? And the people operated it via computers, of course, but it's driverless, right?
Yeah.
These are massive, huge trucks. Now, this may be something that these guys can think about. How do we harvest? How can we use technology? And it has to be something really a latest technology as well. And then you need to look at maybe investment. It's another investment opportunity that comes through.
Monitoring forest at large also, you can use those drones with cameras. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Not only the cameras.
Spending heavy helicopters to run through the big areas of land. You can send drones like.
Exactly. So you can see there's a lot of IT that we can use here, okay? Because exactly what you said, we are talking about large areas, right? And in Europe, okay? Because the labor is extremely expensive. So we are not in a position to deploy labor, right? It is expensive. Therefore, how can we use technology, right? And we can see what they have given is, to make things real, this is the type of equipment we use, right? So they themselves have invested in heavy logging machinery that can fell trees and strip their branches. This equipment is suited to clearing areas of trees. Individual trees are still cut down manually with chainsaws. Now this is where it can be quite dangerous, as they say, right? Now, what can we do here? As another technology, what can we do here? We can deploy a technology. Any ideas?
For felling trees?
Yes. Now the individual, okay? So now we are using a human being to do it.
Robots maybe.
Exactly, right? Why not use robot technology for this? Because they say it's highly dangerous, okay? And it is remote areas. therefore can be quite dangerous as well. And of course, you're dealing with this kind of big trees, so anything can happen.
On to a question now.
Right.
Once we're trying to automate, I mean, it is said in the pre-scene that there is always, I mean, there is an employee union.
Right.
And the more robots or more we automate, the chances of, the employees is one of the strengths of wood.
Yes.
The lumberjack is one of the strengths of wood. Now, if we have to let those people go, wouldn't that be a disadvantage for wood if we try to over-automate stuff?
I want to ask that question from the students. How would you manage this? I have an answer, but I want to give, let's see.
My own view was that many of them people are working for 30 years and all that. So as and when somebody retires, you don't replace him with a human being, you replace him with a machine then.
Right. Yes. A good point. It's a very good point. We've got a strong union. How can we manage that? And it is a very good thing for change management, okay? Any creative ideas? So what we can do is actually move to have the communication, all right? Have a very good communication plan, as well as it's not about just sending emails, but we need to have like town hall sessions. I'm talking a little bit now on change management, how we're going to do this if we are to use robots, right? And again, maybe we will do it in stages, and actually involve the union leaders in this whole process from the beginning, right? Give them the reason why we're planning on using the robots, right? And naturally, the first question that the unions would say, like you quite correctly said, would be, well, how are we what's gonna happen to our people who are lumberjacks who've been there for a long time? Right. So they can be the operators of those robots. They can be involved in creating this whole application, right? So they could play completely a different role. Yes. Because it is not our IT guys, however clever they are, that's going to come up with, what the robot is going to be doing. They're going to be writing code, yeah? So they have no clue what's going to happen. But it's like building an ERP application. We need accountants to build ERP applications. The coders are there, but we certainly need the accountants, because they are the guys who will say how this whole accounting system would work. Similarly, you will need these technical guys, right? They could play a different role completely. And just because we produce one set of robots, not mean that's going to end it there. We have to have improvements going on, as well as you could say these guys could be kind of the pioneers as well as the experts who will go into different parts of the world, exploring this initiative with other countries. Okay. As you can see, you need to be quite creative in your thinking. How can we manage it? Go on a traditional financy kind of role, and that's what CIMA is looking for. Because as a management accountant, you are not just looking at numbers. You need to look at things very strategically. You need to partner with the business. This is exactly that partnering that comes through. You need to partner with your operational activities as well. So, projects. What does considerable work with Forestry Authority of Malund, right? And Forestry Authority offers substantial grants towards planting and for fencing. And again, we'll have to talk about reporting here, because if there are grants being given, there has to be considerable amount of reporting which states how have they got the return on investment. Okay, so when they talk about in the second paragraph, they talk about typically this involves making picnic areas, footpaths, and cycle paths in existing forests in order to encourage the public to use them for leisure and enjoyment. Right. So they could also create more awareness with the public by using technology. Okay. How can we do that? Is a technology that we can use quite cheaply. How do you think?
Anju, can you repeat your question? It broke off in between.
Right. Okay. So the last line here, right? There is what they're talking about is what is getting involved in building this kind of parks and footpaths, cycle paths, etc. Right? And they also want people to be using this. So it's of no use you just creating something if nobody's using it, right? Because your return on investment is based on that. Right. It's not clearly stated whether you pay, the public pay for it, or it's free of charge. Maybe certain activities are free of charge, maybe certain activities you need to pay. Whatever it is, we need to promote it, right? So how can Wood promote these activities to the public?
Social media. I mean, social media.
Exactly.
Facebook, Twitter, there was.
Awareness program, yes.
And also what you can do is use some film, right? While they're creating it, involve maybe at certain points in time, involve kids from different schools, or get them to come up with ideas, right, for decorating. In Chicago, they were decorating the public space, and what they did was a certain public space. What they did was they encouraged the students to come in there, create the artwork, and they used their artwork in that public space. So, as if I'm a student, I know that artwork is going to be there in this public space. I'm excited. I talk about it. I talk to my friends, and of course, the parents will talk to their parents, and they're so proud about it, right? So this is how we involve the public in certain activities, right? This will create that momentum, and it will go. The public will use these facilities. Now, chairman's statement. Chairman's statement. Just give me 1 second, please. Sorry, guys. One of my students is still trying to get in. He's missed half the class, though. But let's see. Sorry. Just 1 minute. Sorry. Okay. Now, chairman's statement. What are some of the key things that you can see in the chairman's statement?
One of the first things is the foreign exchange movement.
Right.
The volatility in foreign exchange.
Yes. So he's talking a lot about it, isn't it? Because that is, it seems, it's an impacting word quite a bit.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And as we go along, what else can you see? So foreign exchange is key thing.
Reputation of the company.
Yes.
They had a few difficult years, and 2014 was a good year for them.
Yes. Wonder what the difficult years were. Maybe because due to foreign exchange again. Right? Because, yeah, the others.
And the world was, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
The end user industry, that the house building industry and construction industry, which is one of the major clients for their products.
Right. What we can say is of their key products that they've got, that is linked to the housing industry. So as soon as there is a problem in the construction, and depends where they're sending the products to, okay? As soon as there is an impact in those economies, it's going to impact this country, this company completely, right? So here again, they need to look at, well, I've got timber, and then analyzing, who am I selling the timber to? Am I selling 80% to 90% to one country or one area, right? Let's say I'm only selling to Europe. So if Europe is in an economic crisis, right, these guys are going to get affected. But let's flip and say, well, if I have clients in Southeast Asia or in the Middle East, right? So we will not have the same issue, as Europe has, right? Again, unless, of course, there is something like the global financial crisis where every one of us got affected, except Australia, right? Then there is a problem. But otherwise, they should look at diversifying, look at the portfolio of customers they've got, right? So this is an area that they need to look at. And you, as a management accountant, also need to look at, the risks by having just one set of customers in a certain geographic location, right? This could be the reason that they had problems in their income, in their revenue for the past few years, right? Anything else that you can say?
I think in the past years, because of the global crisis, the world was recovering the past years. That's also a major reason in the some industrial data like.
Yep.
Till 2013, world was recovering from this real estate.
I mean, one of the major strengths is that they are in the good books of the Forest Authority of Maryland.
Yes.
They have managed to increase the sustainability of the forests, and they've improved the carbon storage by 3%.
Mm-hmm.
And most of the projects where these guys had collaborated with the Forest Authority, there's a 40% increase in the visitors to the forest. So
yes,
this is definitely a strength.
Yes, exactly. So again, you need to go very much deep into the industry, what they're working on, and also analyze, the companies, the other companies, the real life companies. Okay, so you need to kind of understand. You need to be in their shoes and see, what is going on in this space. And then they talk about sustainability, right? And sustainability, as you can see, social responsibility, I'm just scrolling to see that they're talking about this for 2 pages, right? this again shows how much importance that this case study is on sustainability. So our report, that integrated reporting, may become quite important in this aspect as well. And when we talk about sustainability, how do you track it? How do you monitor it? How do you communicate it? Becomes quite important as well. And they talk about what investment objectives is to invest in assets which can be established, managed on an environmentally and socially sustainable basis. Now, they talk about they can operate in other areas, geographic areas. You can come up with that as a strategic option. However, if they're operating in other geographic locations, they need to be careful that when they invest, this aspect is taken care of. Okay, so as you would know, in Europe there might be very high standards when it comes to forestry, etc. The sustainable laws, etc. They are quite mature, but it may not be so in certain other countries. Now, when we go to, I have given you a link to an article about Romania. They are in the European Union, but hey, they are not doing good at all when it comes to environmental and forestry. Okay, so if these guys are playing a significant role to become world leaders, which they have stated they want to become, and they can become those consultants and also invest in these countries, you got to be quite careful in what you invest, where you invest, and of course the impact that they're going to have in these countries, but also to make sure they can do it ethically, as well as the standards in Romania might not be the same, so they may face issues at that point in time. Okay. Sorry. 1 second, please. Yep. Now, any other comments from anyone here? Okay. Let's go to the next slide. So what are the key things here, key points here that you can see?
Their strategies to combine their business model to make sure that they manage the natural resources also in a sustainable manner, so that the shareholders benefit from long-term capital appreciation as well as dividends.
Correct. And yeah.
Sorry.
Anything else?
The idea is that business sustainability and the economic, the environmental sustainability should merge in a way that it's useful to the shareholders as well as to society.
Correct. Yes. Anything else?
I think this is we call as creating shared value.
Yes. Yeah. And if you see, our expectation is that wood will be a net planter of trees, with a number of living trees increasing over time in all of our forests. And if you are an investor, so you can see in their financial statement as well how they have captured these investments, right? So the reporting of it again becomes quite important. If you go into the financial statements, which I will do in a little while, okay? They say to obtain all existing accreditations, which they've got most of the time, and they're trying to get more accreditation because they want to build their brand, okay? Then, of course, with the local community, they're quite conscious of the stakeholders that they're working with, and they want to work with them very closely, as you can see, and bring value. Okay, so let's go to the next one. Our strategy and objective. This is a very good foundation for you to think where the guys, this wood company is planning to go. Our mission is to be the world leader in sustainable forestry management, right? If you want to be a world leader, you're talking big. So this is where, when it comes to strategic options, when it comes to investment, you have to consider all the technical tools, the models, right? Well, as when you're considering these models, you have to think about it not as just operating in Marland, but also maybe going into the European state, because they're looking at being the world leader, right? And they're looking at long-term return to our investors, preferred supplier of raw wood based on materials to a broad customer base. Now, with this statement, this means these guys could be operating in different other geographic locations as well, and then providing this raw material, but also to be the preferred supplier. Why would they be the preferred supplier? Any reason?
Because of the quality and because of the pricing.
Quality, pricing, as well as the process and of how they go about getting the wood, how they're managing it, right? It's like, well, I want to get coffee, but when it comes to, we look at fair trade coffee, right? So you can have coffee, different types. I mean, you can get coffee from, coffee is coffee at the end of the day, but the way it's grown, how the farmers are treated becomes quite important, right? Now, they could also go into something like, managing small plots of farmland of people, right? And they could play that management role as well, because they're a leading player in the forest industry regarding environmental and social conduct. Expand existing and develop new large-scale projects. So definitely, again, we're talking about we requiring quite a bit of funding to invest in these projects, right? Then we will look at the risks involved as well when we invest in these projects. New ways of working improve the sustainability of forests in the future. So certainly, we are looking at new ways of working. So like we said, our traditional ways of working, we moved on from that, right? We used humans before, but we may start looking at robots. We may go into products that we have not gone into before. Okay? Any other questions here?
Nothing now.
Right, okay. Well, code of conduct. We've, let's see. Yeah, so code of conduct, they've got one full page on it. How we manage the stakeholders, respect, professional behavior, learning and development. So when it comes to learning development, we are always learning, developing the skills and knowledge to support the company. So again, technology can be used for learning and development quite a bit. You've got 700 employees. You might be expanding into other countries as well. And you might need to have standard learning and development processes. So this is where things like the internet and recorded sessions and learning and development developed in places like Europe can be the standard that you roll out to other areas as well. Okay? Any questions here?
No, we are fine.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
So the other aspect of the code of conduct, again, we can look at how do we report to people, to our stakeholders about our code of conduct. Now, if you see Bloomberg does a fantastic report on this is what we believe in, and these are the projects, and this is what we have done to achieve it, right? So again, how do you communicate the activities that they have done to the stakeholders? This could be a separate report that you may have to produce and publish to your stakeholders. Stakeholder engagement. And they say, communities in Marlin trust us. This is the foundation of our business, right? What are the key points you see here?
That some of the initiatives that they have are long-term investments, in the sense that they may not have quick returns or immediate returns, but they will yield them returns in the longer term, and especially because the trust is what they are more focused on rather than the return on investment, immediate return on investment.
Yes. So if you are a shareholder who's seeking a quick ROIs and increase, quick investment returns, this would not be your ideal company to invest, correct? Because this they say it does take some time. It's like a shipbuilding company, I suppose. It does take quite a bit of time to yield the return. So that's one of the key things. However, your stakeholders become quite important, and maybe you may have to come up with certain strategies how to build stakeholders. Maybe you've got a fantastic stakeholder engagement in Marlin, but if you're planning on going to another country, then you need to think of how do we do this over again. It might not be the same way you built in Marlin. That might not be possible. It might have to be something completely different, because it depends on the culture of that country. And let's go into the next one. So we talk about employees. Now, this is where we said some employees have worked 30 years, and again, we say they're happy to continue with the work, even though it can be difficult and dangerous. So, like you guys quite correctly said, there might be resistance for sure when you come up with new technologies, right? People have worked over 30 years in this company. So they may be used to, a company like this, they are used to traditional ways of doing things. Technology would not be in the forefront, right? So not like a company that is in, let's say something like an aviation industry. If you're a company, an airline, you need technology, right? That is, you cannot live without technology. But this industry, you don't need, because this is not a must. However, technology has become an enabler for us to get a very good quality of life, and also for our employees to give them a very good quality of employability as well. So, and also reporting. Nowadays, reporting, you require technology. Right? So from an employee's point of view, they may have some resistance to change when it comes to adapting to technology. Right? Anybody who has different views?
We agree with you, because industry after industry is affected by the technological change. I mean,
correct.
Whether it's the service industry, whether it is production, whether it is mining, all of them, they have their own challenges with respect to coping up with technological change.
Correct. Yes. And you can see, isn't it? This is a traditional traditional industry. So actually, and mostly all this is done by men. Okay, so men, the psyche is such, they like doing this. Okay, they really love doing it because they like to use heavy equipment, heavy machinery, cut wood. This is in their psyche. So it's a bit of psychology because even I worked in the oil and gas at one point, and when we employed the female truck drivers were much better than the male truck drivers because the females are more careful. They don't have that male ego to go, like boys with toys, basically. However old you are, you will be, this is a big toy that they've got. So similarly, these are things, a lot of men are working in this area, and there will be quite a lot of resistance to change. This is something you need to consider as well.
Yeah, which they confess in the last paragraph. They talk that it's gender bias wise, and doesn't have too many women working in the outdoors.
True.
Opportunities are there, modest.
Sorry. Yeah. So if we look at 1 second. Being aware of customer needs has played a large part in our steady growth over the last few years. We value our customers and work hard at understanding their needs. Okay, that's good. Anything that comes up, as these are some prominent points that you need to talk about. They talk about a customer care department, right? So I'm just wondering what type of customer care, the questions that the customers come up with, what would they be? Any ideas?
The usual thing that comes to mind is delays in supplies or delays in sticking to the commitment.
Right. So they're talking about, we open a customer care department to respond to customer queries and complaints quickly, right? Complaints may be related to even if you're I don't know where these forests are, but maybe when you're taking the wood, the trees from one place to the other, using trucks, using heavy vehicles, this might be causing a big problem to the residents, right? So the forests are in one place. They have to take this these products to another faraway place, to a port or something like that. Then we are going to have a problem if they pass the residential areas, correct? So there might be complaints from that as well. So that's something that needs to be looked at, and they have not mentioned, what is the thing related to the logistics. Okay. Any other complaints that you guys think that might come through?
Maybe something technical, like what type of trees to plant. Can have various kind of technical questions.
Correct, and also sometimes it might be, environmental groups, right? So environmental groups, they're concerned about, what is happening, and that needs those questions coming through as well. And they said the number of repeat queries has fallen considerably as a result of this initiative. So it has been a successful initiative for them. Yeah.
There could be also questions related to amenity forests.
Mm-hmm. So what do you mean? Elaborate?
Issues raising out of converting forest into amenity forest.
All right. Okay.
There could be probable issues with people going into the forest. They face certain issues, or maybe there are certain dangers which need to be rectified. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Very good. So, I mean, when you talk about these forests where you are encouraging people to come in, there is going to be quite a bit of risk because you're absolutely right. We need to consider the security aspects of it as well, right? If there is parks, if there is water involved, then there are children. You know, all these things need to be considered, as well as the lighting, etc., etc. Are there any park wardens, and how can people stay there after dark, or is it up to a certain point? Can they stay overnight? If it's overnight, what are the consequences? So those are kind of questions, the typical questions that people would be asking, and risk related to that as well, right? And if you see here, there is quite a bit on risk and risk-related activities, right? So at a high level, fluctuating demand for their products. We spoke about this. And then if there is a fluctuating demand, how can we manage it, right? What are the options available? You are there to provide the kind of options that is available and tell the management, well, in order to have a regular flow of income, these are some of the things that we can do. Option A, B, C, D, right? Then if you're talking about international business, many countries import large quantities of timber and their economies can further affect the demand, right? Apart from fluctuation in their economies, our ability to export to particular markets can be affected by trade disputes. So not only their demand, but also we need to take into consideration the forex issues and also the trade disputes, right? Maybe like certain countries, one time there might be, there's a huge demand, we are very happy exporting to those countries, and then there is an embargo. Right? Something like that happens, then again we have an issue to face. Okay. So exchange rate fluctuation, we went through that. Employee safety, we spoke in length about this one, right? So labor relations, here we go. Talk about unionized. And again, this is where we will need, they are a very, very powerful stakeholder and very interested in all the activities we do. So we will need to engage them in most of our, if you're looking at a strategic option, if you're looking at different areas that we want to go into, like investment in IT, we may have to actually start the dialogue with the trade union leaders and look at how best we incorporate them at the beginning, not towards the middle of it, and we say, oh, by the way, we have invested, we have already invested in X amount of millions in technology. That is a bit too late. So at the beginning, we need to have those conversations, right? Physical risks, we spoke about that as well. And they also talk about fire, insect infestation, wind blow in extreme weather, right? So these are things that how we're going to manage. And when it comes to, this is the area that we're looking at, P3, right? The risk component, okay? So then we look at the taxation. Changes to tax and grants regime governing forestry would have an adverse effect on the number of customers interested in investing in forestry and planting. So again, here, we saw that there are wealthy investors who are investing in this kind of forestry because they are getting tax exemptions. But what if that changes? Our whole ecosystem is going to change, right? So again, we need to be cognizant of the fact, how do we manage this? What is the component of areas that we manage for wealthy individuals? How much do we own as, our forests? How much do we own? Because again, this may have an impact on our income, right? If there is changes to the tax regime. Then we talk about board of directors. Did anybody see some interesting things here with regards to board of directors?
This lady who is the human resource director, she's got a doctor attached to her name, but I don't see a doctorate with in the lines that follow.
Right. Okay. Dr. Lenser, right?
Yeah, but then she holds a master's degree, so I don't know how she became a doctor.
All right. Okay. Anything else?
The Sarah Jones, the marketing director. I mean, everybody else has got some link to the country of Maryland. I mean, they have some level of experience, but she's the only one who's the odd one out. She's a recent appointment.
Right.
An audit committee led by non-accountants, like they are no accountants.
Right. Yeah. Dr. Anton Carlos. Yeah.
Is the Leanne Edwards, who is one of the non-executive director. She works as a she worked with a senior purchasing manager for 15 years in a sawmill, and I see that as a conflict of interest, maybe because she's on the board of one company here and she works with one of the customers. So
yes.
So I would like you to kind of summarize, not in great depth, right? Very summarize what you see as some of the issues with this composition, right? I see one thing is a lot of them have joined quite recently.
Yeah, non-experienced.
Yeah, so I was I'm wondering why is that. And then I see there is this Ibrahim, forestry director. He's been director since 2013. Previously been a forestry manager in a large plantation in Nigeria. Now we could just this is a really good opportunity to tap into some of his knowledge and what has been done in Nigeria, right? Because also, if you want, we can look into going into that area as well, or I think not investing because that is quite risky, but also maybe providing consulting.
Okay. Consulting is the much bigger business.
Correct. So we are in a good position to provide that. So the other thing that I've seen is the committees that they've got, right? They've got an audit and remuneration committee. I don't see committees.
Committee and there's a health and
safety. There are 3. Okay.
Nominee.
Health and safety, there's nomination, there's remuneration, there's audit. 4 committees are there.
Health and safety, audit, remuneration. Yeah, so do you think we need to have more committees because of the industry that they're in? Right? So that is another thing that you guys might want to consider. Okay, and then we, of course, go into financial statements. So one of the things I want to basically focus on here is this unrealized gain on biological assets.
Yes.
And there is also another one, the biological assets figure, right? This is quite interesting, and it is related to
standing forest.
There's a standard for this, okay?
Standing forest, okay.
Yes, case 41. Okay, so I will send you guys this link, these documents as well, because you need, not that again, you don't need to understand the length and breadth of IAS 41, but you need to know how it is carried out. Okay, what is fact of IAS 41. is the analysis of it is quite straightforward. We will go through it the next time, or what I will do is, to save time, I will do the analysis and send it to you guys. Okay? And one of the other key things that I saw here is looking into the depth. The gearing ratios is quite low. Okay. So again, I will do the analysis and send it to you guys, because we need not go through that now. I spend another class talking about the analysis. There was a question from one of you guys which spoke about biomass energy, right?
Oil prices.
Sorry?
Oil prices and the impact on biomass energy.
Yeah, that's a good problem.
Yes. Now, biomass is used, and we don't see that wood is using it, actually actively going into that area. Okay? Well, it will have an impact. Oil prices will certainly have an impact on the biomass prices as well. That's the reason why we need to look at, again, how to bring down the cost of, producing this biomass. How do we do it, right? And again, look at, you can use a lot of technology in this space as well, but gathering the biomass, bringing it, gathering the raw material for the biomass is something, again, we can look at using robots instead of human beings. Initial investment might be quite significant, so then we need to look at, is there any tax exemptions or that we can use in this case, or even grants. Can we get some grants to invest in this space, right? So I have an article, a really good article on biomass. It explains what it is and how it is done. I will send that one as well. Okay. Any other questions?
On the composition of the board,
yes.
It looks like the executive directors are more than the non-executive directors.
Very few NEDs. Very few NEDs. Yeah, very, very few. So that is a concern, and that's what I said, the composition of it. It is a bit of a concern. The concerns are with the NEDs, the advantages of having NEDs. You need to know. I will give you some pointers on that, where you need to go through. Yeah.
And also the NEDs, the experience of NEDs in that particular industry looks very less. Yeah.
Exactly.
Are they in a position to advise the board?
Yes.
But on the positive side, it's a very diverse board. I mean, it has got people representation geographically as well as gender-wise from various regions.
Yes, so we can always talk about the positive advantages and the disadvantages as well, and make some recommendations. And also the lack of the NEDs. What are the advantages, disadvantages, particularly? They're talking about being the world leader. So at that point, we may need much more expertise than the NEDs that we've got, than the board of directors that we've got NEDs or non-NEDs, right? Because we may also look into tying up with universities. Okay, now that's what Emirates Airlines have done. They've linked up with Oxford University, right? So a lot of the R&D can be done by these universities, right? The university students can be involved. I mean, PhD students, they could just get some cohorts of students to focus on certain areas that we want to develop, right? So that's something that you can bring in to this case study as well, because we are going into that next level. So we can't only rely on the expertise of our senior board members, right? We need some academics involved in this as well. So when you are writing your answers, you can support them by stating, well, XYZ company has used Oxford, for example, which is the truth, and say, well, similar concept can be adapted by Wood, right? And in there again, you're not, there is no cost to you as a company. Yeah. Any others? So what I'm going to do in our next class would be, I will look at our top 10 issues, right, that we will be facing. I will also look at the industry analysis. Okay, so those two I will try to cover in our next class. After our next class, what I will do is put up the mocks in Moodle, right? I will try to set up individual sessions with you to take you through Moodle rather than do a class right away like this and then take you through Moodle. I think you may have some questions. So I will take you to have individual sessions. It won't take 15 minutes. Mostly it will take 15 minutes. What I want to show you is how to write your answers, because I want you to write, the answers will be timed as well, because it will be just 1 hour, and it will, beyond that you will not be able to write because it will just close, right? And that's what I said I want it in an exam condition. Okay, any other questions?
Anju, this is Anand.
Yes, Anand?
See, I'm traveling, so I'm not going to be there for tomorrow's class. So, how would I be able to see would you be sending me a recording of the video, or? I
will send the recording of the video, as well as I will try to set up a separate session with you as well.
Right.
Okay.
Tomorrow's class is rescheduled, right? It's not at 4 to 5. It's probably later.
So, correct. Hang on for a second. Yes. Yes.
What time is it tomorrow?
I think,
because
if I'm not
we guys
mistaken,
will be working then.
Yeah, it was. I believe it's from 7 to 8. I believe.
UAE time, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, because I asked the Kuwait guys as well, and they said yes, that's fine. The 7 to 8
Okay.
UAE time is yours is 6 to 7.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I just have one more question.
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Will I be able to use this on a BlackBerry? I'm not a very technologically savvy person, so I've not tried it yet.
What's that you use?
Can I use, the Citrix app on the Cisco app on a BlackBerry?
I think you
iPhone.
should be able to. I don't. iPhone for sure, yes, because I have it on my iPhone. BlackBerry, I'm not sure. Even though I have a BlackBerry, I've not used it on a BlackBerry. But iPhone for sure.
Okay.
Why is there a problem? You have to use BlackBerry. Is there a reason?
Yes, maybe one of these. It's not that. I won't be having my laptop for a few days in between because I'll be traveling. So
right.
I just want to know which I need to use. So I'll start with the iPhone. If it works, nothing
iPhone works for sure, because you have to go to the web app.
Okay.
And just download the WebEx. That's it. It works for sure.
All right. Okay.
All right, guys. I hope you enjoyed that. And I hope you got some insight into our case study, because when we go to our next sessions, I will not dwell on this case study. I have done the foundation, so we will straight away get into the issues and the industry. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
All right. See you then. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.